Tonight, we're going somewhere darker than usual. Not jump scare dark, not horror movie dark. A slower kind of darkness. The kind that seeps in quietly through damp walls and unpaved streets. We're going back to the 14th century, back to a Europe that is cold, hungry, crowded, and about to be hit by the Black Death. This isn't a history lecture. This is a what if. What if you woke up there? What if you had to live through the plague, not as a king, not as a famous name in a textbook, but as an ordinary person trying very hard not to die? So, before we go, get comfortable, lie down, fix your pillow, let your shoulders sink into the mattress. If you have a fan or some soft background noise, let it hum quietly. And now, just listen. Because for the next long while, your life is not yours. It belongs to someone in the year 1348. You open your eyes, and the first thing you feel is itching. Not the gentle, oh, I slept funny kind of itch. Not a mosquito bite. This is full body, can I shed my skin itching. You're lying on a mattress. Calling it a mattress is generous. It's a sack of old straw that used to be in a barn and absolutely still smells like it. It pokes you through the thin cloth underneath you. It crackles when you move, and there's that familiar sound of tiny legs racing away from the light when you shift your weight. Fleas. You don't see them, but you know they're there. You've been living with them for as long as you remember. The blanket on top of you is thick, rough wool, heavy with months of sweat, smoke, and whatever the dog dragged in. It hasn't been washed in. No one even keeps track. You don't own another one. This is it. The air is cold, not crisp, refreshing cold. It's the wet, bone-deep kind. The kind that makes your breath fog in front of your face and makes your fingers feel like wood. You're in a single room. This room is your bedroom, your kitchen, your living room, your hallway, and sometimes your stable. The walls are wooden planks, a few crooked beams, maybe a bit of wattle and daub. There's a door, no glass windows, just shutters, and a hole that lets in light, and wind, and whatever else wants to come in. You hear the church bell in the distance. It rings out over the village. That's your alarm clock, not optional. When the bell rings, life starts. Next to you, your family is beginning to move. People shift under blankets. Someone coughs. Someone else groans. You don't have a bedroom. You don't have privacy. You are never alone. Your mother, father, siblings, maybe a grandparent, maybe a random cousin who stayed for a while 4 years ago and never left. All of you share this same room, this same air, this same bed area. At your feet, something snorts softly. There's a pig sleeping in the corner because it's cold outside and animals are worth more than your dignity. You take a deep breath and the smell of your world greets you. Smoke, sweat, damp straw, old beer, wet wool, something sour in the corner you really don't want to identify. No scented candles, no fabric softener, just reality. You try to stretch. Your back pops in a way that feels far too dramatic for your age. You're maybe 18, 20, 22. In your world, that's middle age. Your body already feels like someone skipped a few chapters and jumped straight to old man complaints. Your joints ache. Your knees crack. Your muscles are tight from yesterday's work. And the day before that, and every single day before those. The bell rings again. Time to get up. You don't want to. You never do. But in this world, if you don't work, you don't eat. And if you don't eat, you die. And dying is already easy enough here. You swing your legs off the straw mattress and place your bare feet on the floor. The floor is a surprise. Sometimes it's dry, dusty earth. Sometimes it's damp where the roof dripped last night. Sometimes it's sticky from something that spilled and never got cleaned. This morning, it's cold and a little slimy. Perfect. You stand up slowly. Your back complains. Your knees complain. You complain silently inside your head because complaining out loud won't change anything. Around you, the others are rising too. Your mother wraps a shawl around her head. Your father coughs that deep, thick cough that never really goes away. Your younger sibling rubs sleep from their eyes and immediately starts scratching their scalp. Normal. Completely normal. Welcome to morning in medieval Europe. You're never alone. You're never really clean. And your day hasn't even started yet. Before you do anything else, nature calls. There is no bathroom. There is no toilet. There is no sink. There is no toilet paper. There is a bucket. If you're lucky, the bucket lives in a semi-respectable corner behind a shaky piece of cloth that pretends to be a curtain. If you're unlucky, well, no curtain, just vibes. The bucket is already full of decisions from yesterday. Someone should empty it. Someone always should. Nobody wants to. Today, that someone might be you. You take the bucket, hold your breath, and step outside into the early morning gray. The street is not really a street. It's mud, trash, slop, leftover food scraps, and whatever everyone in the village threw out of their houses yesterday. You walk carefully because falling here is not just embarrassing, it's medically unwise. You carry the bucket away from the door, and then you do what everyone does. You dump it right into the open, onto the ground, onto the road. There is no sewage system. The whole town is one big, badly managed drain. Some places shout something like, "Mind below," or "Look out," before they do it. Most don't. You step back from the splash zone and try not to think about it. The smell hits you anyway. Thick, heavy, decisive. Your brain says, this is not healthy. And your sensory says, this is life. Somewhere nearby, a pig sniffs the mess with intense professional interest. You put the bucket down to collect again later. It will fill. It always fills. You wipe your hands on your tunic. There is no hand soap waiting inside. No sanitizer. No hot water on command. Maybe you rinse your hands quickly in a wooden basin with cold water that hasn't been changed yet this morning. Maybe you don't, and you move on. Because here, there's no time to be disgusted. You live in it. You walk in it. You breathe it. Now, your teeth. In your world, you maybe have a toothbrush, toothpaste with mint, floss, mouthwash. You can pick flavors. You can choose whitening, sensitivity, charcoal, whatever. Here, there is none of that. You might chew on a little stick if you're fancy. You rub it along your teeth and gums and hope for the best. But most days, you just don't. Your teeth already hurt, more often than not. That dull ache in the back of your mouth? Normal. Some are chipped, some are blackening. Your gums bleed sometimes when you eat the harder bread. Cavities aren't an exception. They're a lifestyle. Dentists? Not really. You do have barber surgeons. Those are the guys who cut hair, shave faces, and, when things get dramatic, pull teeth. No anesthesia, no numbing gel, just a chair, a strong hand, an iron tool, and a prayer. If a tooth gets bad enough, you might end up in that chair, gripping the armrests while he yanks a piece of your skull out of your face. If it gets infected and the infection spreads, well, you might not make it that far. People here die from toothaches, not an exaggeration. An infection in your jaw can turn into a fever, can turn into something far worse. But for now, you still have most of your teeth. They hurt, they smell, they're a mess, but they're still in your mouth. You breathe. Your breath is potent. So is everyone else's. No one leans in and says, "Oh my God, your breath." Everyone's breath is terrible. Nobody has the moral high ground. Breakfast. You're hungry. You went to sleep hungry. You woke up hungry. Food is not entertainment here. It's survival. You sit down near the hearth. There's a pot hanging over the embers from last night. Someone stirs it. It's pottage again. Pottage is everything: water, some grains, maybe barley or oats, bits of vegetables if you're lucky, turnips, always turnips, onions when you have them, sometimes beans. It's been cooking for days. You never really finish it. You just keep adding things to it. It's less a meal and more a permanent project. It smells okay. Sometimes really good if someone got their hands on a bit of fat or a bone to throw in. Sometimes just gray and wet. You get a wooden bowl, a wooden spoon. You scoop. On the side, you get bread. This is not soft, fluffy bakery shelf bread. This is dark, dense, heavy bread that could probably stop a small knife. It might be rye, or barley, or oats. Wheat is for rich people. Your bread might be stretched with ground up peas, beans, or whatever cheap filler can be used. You bite into it and feel your teeth complain again. Pieces of chaff and grit grind against your molars. If the harvest was bad, people sometimes add things they really shouldn't. Ergot, moldy grain, stuff that can make you hallucinate, convulse, or just quietly die a bit faster. But today's bread, it's just hard, and dry, and necessary. What about water? You could try to well, but you know better. Water carries things, invisible things that make people double over, vomit, and sometimes never get back up. So, like everyone else, you drink ale, not party ale, not strong beer. This is weak, low alcohol ale. It's been boiled in the brewing process, so it's safer than raw water. You don't drink it to get drunk. You drink it to stay alive. Children drink it too. You sip your morning beer with your sad stew and your hostile bread. No coffee, no tea, no orange juice, just this. It doesn't pump you up. It doesn't energize you. It just exists. Fuel. You eat. Not until you're full. Until it's enough to keep you moving. Because you're going to need it. Now, you get dressed. You don't open a closet because you don't have a closet. You don't decide between outfits. You have one main set of clothes, maybe a second, if your life has gone incredibly well. You pull on a linen shirt or shift, worn thin, stained in places that never came fully clean. Over that, a wool tunic if you're a man, or a wool dress if you're a woman. It's rough. It scratches your skin. It smells faintly of smoke and sweat and sheep. You have a belt, maybe a hood or a coif for your head. If you're lucky, a cloak for the colder days. Shoes? Maybe. If you do have shoes, they're simple leather things, sewn by hand. They aren't waterproof, they aren't cushioned. They let in the cold, the wet, and the occasional sharp stone with enthusiasm. A lot of the time, you go barefoot. Mud, dung, stones. Whatever's on the ground, your feet meet it personally. Your skin, underneath all of this, is not doing well. You itch, constantly. Lice live in the seams of your clothes. Fleas live in your bedding and your hair. Sometimes something bites you in the night in a place you really don't want to scratch in public. Everyone is like this. Nobles have cleaner versions of the same problem. No one is smooth and fresh and fragrant. Everyone is lived in. You scratch your scalp. You see a little something under your fingernails. You flick it away. You move on. Because if you stopped everything every time you met a bug, you'd never get anything done. Time for work. There's no office, no desk, no commute in a vehicle. Your commute is your feet. Your job is survival. If you're like most people, you work the land. You're a peasant. The land is not yours. It belongs to a lord. You work his fields. You plant his crops. You harvest his grain. You pay him rents, taxes, and portions of whatever you produce. In return, you get protection. In theory, the sky is gray. The ground is damp. You head out with tools that would make a modern ergonomic specialist scream. A wooden plow, if your village is lucky enough to have oxen. A hoe, a sickle. Your hands. You bend, you lift, you carry, you repeat. Your back burns, your shoulders ache, your hands are calloused. There is no off. Sunrise to sunset, 6 days a week. Sunday is for church. Unless harvest is desperate, in which case you work anyway and pray faster. If you're a woman, you don't get a second shift. You get all the shifts. Field work, cooking, cleaning, hauling water, spinning wool, caring for children, caring for the elderly. No one asks how you're doing. Mental health is not a thing people name. You are tired. That's normal. You are overwhelmed. Normal. You sometimes feel like crying in a ditch. Also, normal. Children join the effort as soon as they can walk properly without falling. By 5, they're helping. By 10, they're working. There is no childhood as you know it. There is just junior-level suffering. You live like this, day in, day out, season after season. You know hunger years, when the harvest fails. You know those winters where everyone's cheeks look hollow. You know the ache of going to bed not quite full. You know that death is always close. A bad cut, a strange fever, a broken limb that doesn't heal right. But all of that, still, is about to feel almost gentle compared to what's coming. At first, you hear rumors. Rumors travel faster than carts, faster than merchants, faster than common sense. A traveler passes through. A merchant's assistant whispers something at the inn. A priest mentions something vaguely in a sermon. A sickness, far away at first. Cities where whole streets are quiet now. Ports where ships arrive full of dead men. Towns where the bells don't stop ringing. Some people shrug. There's always a sickness somewhere. Famine here, war there, disease somewhere else. Your world is used to death. It doesn't panic easily. But the stories keep coming back. People say it came on ships. They say it follows trade routes. They say it spreads from house to house like a curse. Some say it's God's punishment. Too much sin, too much pride, too many people ignoring the church. Others say it's bad air, corrupted winds, the sky itself gone wrong. Others say it's the Jews poisoning wells, or foreign traders, or witches. Always someone to blame. You don't know what's true. You're not sure anyone does. You keep working. What else can you do? But slowly, the rumors get closer. Now people talk about nearby towns, places you know, places where you've been. You hear that in a city not too far away. Carts of bodies roll through the streets. You hear that whole families are gone in a week. You hear that priests are dying faster than they can give last rites. And gradually, the word settles in your mind like a cold stone. Plague. It doesn't arrive with drums and banners. There's no announcement, no official notice. It starts quietly. Someone in your village gets sick. You've seen sickness before, but this is different. It starts with a fever, hot, suddenly hot. A weakness that makes walking feel like wading through mud. Then the swellings appear under the arms, in the groin, on the neck, big, painful lumps, hot to the touch, sometimes the size of an egg, sometimes larger. People call them buboes. They turn dark, blackish, bloated. The skin stretches and shines. Sometimes they burst. What comes out is not something you want to think about for long. The person coughs. They spit blood. They stink in a way sickness hasn't stunk before. They pray. They groan. They beg God, Mary, the saints, anyone to make it stop. You've seen people recover from things before, from fevers, from wounds, from childbirth. But with this, most don't get back up. You see the fear in the eyes of people who have seen a lot and are not easily shaken. They look at the sick and they step back. The village changes. The air feels heavier, even if that's just in your head. People talk in whispers. The bell rings more often. Funerals become routine. You see a man you know, pale and sweating, leaning against a wall with his hand on his side. He was fine yesterday. Today, death has him by the collar. You see a child with swollen glands, eyes glassy, clinging to her mother's skirt. In a few days, the mother might be the one left standing alone. Or maybe not. Maybe neither of them will be standing at all. The parish priest walks from house to house. At first, he prays. He anoints the sick. He gives confessions. But priests get sick too. Some stay and die. Some quietly disappear. Some lock themselves away and pray from a distance. The doctors, if your area even has one, are mostly helpless. They talk about humors, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, balance, imbalance. They prescribe bloodletting, leeches, vomiting, purgatives, strange-smelling concoctions of herbs. Some people burn herbs in their homes, thinking the smoke will drive out the bad air. People walk around holding posies of flowers to their nose, anything to mask the smell. No one knows what's causing it. No one knows how to stop it. They guess. They experiment on desperate bodies. They fail. You start to hear wheels, wooden wheels, a cart drawn slowly through town. People avoid looking at it. They still look. The cart carries bodies, some wrapped in blankets, some hurriedly covered with whatever cloth or sack was available, some not covered at all. The driver calls out for the dead. People bring their losses out of their homes. Some are stiff, some are fresh, some are, disturbingly, still moving a little. There aren't enough coffins. There isn't enough wood. There isn't enough time. Graves become bigger, deeper, shared. You walk past the churchyard and notice the earth never really settles anymore. New mounds appear every day. Old ones are disturbed to make room. Death has always been part of life here, but now it feels like life is being squeezed out, inch by inch, street by street. You start to count in your head how many people you know who just aren't around anymore. The number rises faster than you think it should. You notice changes in behavior. Some people grow more devout. They're in church constantly, kneeling, crying, promising to be better if God will just spare them. Some join groups of flagellants. They move through towns half naked, backs bare, whipping themselves in long public processions. They chant, they bleed, they claim they are taking on the punishment for everyone's sins. You watch them pass by, their bodies broken and their eyes wild. You don't know if they're holy or unwell, maybe both. Others respond differently. Some people steal, not because they're evil, because they're desperate. Some drink, not to celebrate, but to forget. Some decide if death is coming anyway, they might as well enjoy what's left. They eat more if they can. They sleep with whoever's willing. They laugh too loudly at things that Aren't that funny? Everything feels like it's sliding out of control. You feel small. You feel exposed. You feel watched by something huge and indifferent. Then, one day, you wake up and you don't feel right. At first, it's small. Your head feels heavy. Your limbs feel weak. You tell yourself you're just tired. You go to work anyway, because what else are you supposed to do? But by midday, you're dizzy. Your skin burns cold and hot at the same time. Your vision blurs when you bend down. You think, maybe I just need water, or more pottage, or a break. But breaks aren't really a thing here. You drag yourself through the day, or as much of it as you can. By evening, you're shivering. The world moves too fast when you stand up. You feel wrong. You lie down. You hope it's just a passing fever. You've had those before. You sleep in bursts. You wake up sweating. The room spins. You feel the rough wool scrape your skin, and every touch bothers you. In the morning, you reach under your arm and feel something that wasn't there before. A swelling, hard at the center, tender at the edges. You press it. The pain shoots through you like a hot blade. Your stomach drops. You know what that means. The world shrinks. It becomes your bed, your blanket, your own body turning against you. People move around you, blurry. Your family, a neighbor, the priest, if he's still alive, the healer, if she dares to come close. They touch your forehead. They whisper to each other. Their faces say everything their mouths don't. Your fever climbs. You're hot, but you shiver. You dream, but you don't really sleep. In your side, in your groin, under your arms, the buboes grow. You feel them even when you're not touching them, throbbing, pressing, clawing from the inside. Sometimes someone tries a remedy. They might lance a bubo, cutting it open to let the badness out. The pain is white, sharp, total. You scream, or you try to, but the sound comes out thin. They press herbs onto the wound. They mumble prayers. They do not meet your eyes for long. You realize, in pieces, that you might die here, on this straw mattress, in this room that smells like smoke and sweat and fear. You think of all the days you spent breaking your back in the fields, of all the mornings you woke up freezing and all the nights you went to bed hungry. You think of the times you dreamed of something more, and you wonder if this is it, if this small, hard life is all there ever was going to be. In some stories, this is where you slip away. Your fever rises, your body shakes, the world around you blurs, the voices become distant. Someone holds your hand, or maybe they don't. Maybe they're afraid to touch you. You feel the weight of the blanket, the roughness of the straw, the sting of open skin. You think of God, or not. You think of nothing. Your breath rattles, then it doesn't, and that's it. No dramatic music, no slow montage, just one more body for the cart. You're wrapped in something, a cloth, an old sheet, or nothing at all if there isn't enough. They bring you out into the air. The sun doesn't care. The wind doesn't change. They carry you to a grave that doesn't have your name on it. It has a lot of other bodies in it already. You join them, body pressed against body, the last crowd you'll ever be part of. The earth closes over you. The world moves on without you. You are one of millions, gone in the tide of a disease no one understands. But there's another version. In this one, somehow, you don't die. You come close. You float in that miserable gray borderland where you're not sure if you're awake or dreaming. Days pass, or maybe just hours. Time loses its shape. You moan, you sweat, you cry out for water. People around you watch, waiting for you to stop breathing like so many others. But you don't. One morning, the fever breaks. You're soaked in sweat. Your body feels emptied, hollowed out. Your head pounds, but your thoughts feel a little clearer. The buboes hurt less. They don't grow anymore. Some have burst. They're disgusting, but they're not getting worse. You're still here. Someone brings you a little broth. You drink it slowly. Your hand shakes. It tastes like life. You can't get up yet. Your muscles have melted. Your joints hurt more than ever. But somehow, death walked past your bed and picked someone else. You live. You sit outside weeks later, wrapped in a cloak, watching a smaller village go about its work. You recognize faces, and you notice the absences like holes in a cloth, houses with new people in them, doors that never open anymore, fields that won't be worked this year because no one is left to work them. You stand up slowly and feel older, not just in your bones, in your mind. You've seen too much too fast. The plague doesn't just kill people, it kills certainty. The world that felt stable, even when it was cruel and unfair, suddenly feels fragile. Priests said one thing, and then they died like everyone else. Doctors tried things, and most of them didn't work. Lords hid in their estates, and the disease found them anyway. You watch how society moves after the storm has passed. There are fewer people now, a lot fewer. In some areas, whole villages are empty. Houses half collapsed, doors swinging, fields reclaimed by grass and weeds. In others, life limps on. But the balance has shifted. With so many dead, labor becomes more valuable. The peasants who remain can sometimes ask for better terms, better pay, more freedom. Sometimes they get it. Sometimes they get crushed for daring to ask. The church, shaken, tries to explain everything. It adds new rituals, new masses, new warnings. Some people grow even more devout. Others quietly turn away. They saw how easily the holy men fell and something inside them cracked. You, living in this aftermath, carry scars no one can see. You remember the carts, the smell, the sound of the bell ringing too often. You remember the faces of people who aren't here anymore. You wake up at night sometimes, heart pounding, sure your fever is back. It isn't. Not this time. But the fear sits with you like an old friend who overstayed their welcome. From far in the future, people will look back at this time. They'll write books about it. They'll argue about numbers and causes. They'll make documentaries with ominous music and cool graphics. They'll debate whether it was rat fleas, bacteria, trade routes, climate change. They'll find mass graves and study bones. They'll talk about pandemics like a concept instead of a nightmare you had to sleep inside. But you don't know any of that. You know cold mornings, aching feet, and the taste of thin ale. You know hunger as a feeling, not a word. You know death as a neighbor, not a statistic. You're not a chapter in a textbook. You're just a person who got sick in a world that didn't know why, who lived anyway, or didn't. Now, slowly, come back. Feel the bed you're in now, the real one, not straw, not full of fleas. Feel the softness of your pillow, the weight of your blanket, washed and clean. Think about your bathroom, your running water, your toilet that flushes, your shower with hot water at the turn of a tap. Think about your toothbrush waiting there, your toothpaste, your soap. Think about the fact that if you get a bad fever, you can see a doctor who knows what germs are, that there are hospitals with clean tools and real medicine, that a toothache, annoying as it is, probably won't kill you. You live in a world where the Black Death is something you learn about, not something that comes rolling down your street in a wooden cart. You can listen to history while lying in a warm bed, knowing that when you wake up, you won't have to step into a muddy lane full of waste. You're safe. You're here. You're now. So take a slow breath, in and out. Let the images of that other life fade. The cold room, the rough wool, the bell, the cart. Leave them back in 1348 where they belong. Here, in your time, in your bed, you have light at the flick of a switch, warmth on demand, clean sheets, and a world that, despite all its problems, is still so much kinder to your body than theirs ever was. If your eyes are heavy, let them close. If your thoughts are still wandering the narrow streets of that plague village, gently guide them back to your room, your ceiling, your breathing. You don't wake up in the Middle Ages. You wake up here, now. And that, honestly, is something to be grateful for. Rest, sleep. You've survived this night's journey through the Black Death without so much as a flea bite. When the plague finally begins to fade, it doesn't leave with noise or drama. It slips away silently, almost the same way it arrived. And one morning, as you wake up beneath a worn blanket and stretch your aching limbs, you realize something almost unfamiliar has returned to the air. It does not smell like death, not completely. It's faint, delicate, almost fragile, but it's there. The scent of damp soil, of morning mist, of something living. For the first time and longer than you can measure, you breathe in without flinching. Life is still thin, but it hasn't disappeared. You step outside slowly, careful with every movement. The world hasn't recovered, far from it. There are empty homes, broken shutters, doors that haven't opened in weeks because there is no one left to open them. But somewhere down the road, someone is working in the fields. Just one person, bent over the soil, moving slowly, but moving. Then another joins, not talking, just working. The earth, brutal as it may be, is the first to accept what happened. And the moment someone drives the first line into the ground again, the village takes its first breath. They won't write his name in any book. No one will carve a statue or song for him. But the day that man raised his tool and cut that first line into the land, history quietly shifted. Before the plague, peasants belonged to the land. After the plague, the land began to depend on them. So many are gone that every surviving pair of hands becomes valuable. Work that was expected is now needed. Lords who once barked orders begin offering promises, a bigger share of the harvest, lighter dues, freedom to move. They don't do it out of kindness. They do it because without workers, even a lord is just another starving figure in a half-abandoned house. Later, historians will call this the weakening of feudalism. You won't use that word. You'll simply notice people stand a little straighter when they walk now. Town life slowly returns. Shops whose windows stayed shuttered for months begin to show signs of movement again. Not full, not busy, but open. One morning, smoke rises from the bakery chimney. It's thin, hesitant, like the baker himself is unsure if the world can handle the smell of warm bread again. But when someone passes and catches that scent, they pause. It may be the first time they've stopped, not because of grief or exhaustion, but because something reminded them that comfort once existed, only for a moment. But a moment is enough. In the cities, Florence, Venice, London, universities reopen their doors. Physicians return to their studies, but now silence walks with them. Before the plague, they spoke with certainty. Four humors: bad air, divine punishment. Now they walk through corridors still echoing with loss, and some quietly begin to ask, what if we seek the cause, not the blame, not the punishment, but the reason? This question is small, barely whispered, but from it, slowly, painfully, a new way of thinking emerges. Centuries later, you will hear it called Renaissance. But here, in this dust-covered town, it begins with something simpler. A person looking at a tragedy and saying, I want to understand. Artisans become precious: the blacksmith, the mason, the carpenter. Those who survived aren't just alive, they are necessary. Sometimes a craftsman is invited to move to another town, to rebuild, to repair, to start over somewhere else. And in that moment, quietly, without fanfare, a person is valued not for where they were born, but for what they can do. It is such a small shift, but later it will move entire civilizations. Marriage changes too. With so few people left, unions happen quickly. But something unexpected rises with it. For the first time in a long time, some couples are formed not just from arrangement, but from the simple truth that life is short and tomorrow is not promised. No one speaks of love aloud, not in these streets, but when someone passes their partner a bowl of thin soup in the morning, there is warmth in the gesture, a softness that did not exist before. It is not romance as the poets will write it centuries later, but it is the seed. Some towns redesign their streets. Where alleys were once narrow and suffocating, new pathways are widened. Windows become larger. Fresh air is allowed in. Wells are deepened. And in some places, spaces are marked for what will one day become hospitals. Here begins the first thought. Perhaps illness spreads when people are too close together. The first edged shape of public health takes form. You will not know the term. You will only notice that some streets feel less like tunnels now. Years pass. Babies born after the plague cry differently. They wake often at night, as if some ancient fear still lingers in the bones. Parents hush them softly. Don't be afraid, they whisper. But their eyes say, I was. Children grow into adults who are either very quiet or very loud. They cannot unhear the silence they were born into. So some fill it with noise. Others try not to disturb it. One day you walk through the village at dusk. Your joints ache in the familiar way they always do. But tonight, something is different. A window candle flickers not from sorrow, but simply because someone is still awake, still living, still making bread for the morning. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rings, not for a death, but for a birth. And in that moment, it is unmistakable. The world does not heal all at once, nor does it forget, but it continues, deliberately, quietly, as though survival itself has become an act of reverence. Tonight, as you lay back down, not in a straw sack, but in a real bed, far from that era, allow yourself to absorb a final thought. The plague took lives, but in the years that followed, life became more precious. People began to question, to rebuild, to value. You are here now, breathing, listening, because someone, centuries ago, chose to get up on a morning like this and work the soil again. Take one deep breath in and slowly out. The night is quiet, but it is not empty. The world has ended before, and yet, here you are, safe, resting, alive, and that is enough. Good night.